Hi all, and thanks for joining. Today I'm going to walk you through this Pennyworth, very easy Linux box available on Hack the Box platform. This is the 9th box from the Starting Point Tier 1 series of machines and tagged with common applications: Jenkins, Java, Reconnaissance, remote code execution, and default credentials. I already downloaded the official write-up and will proceed to connect to Hack the Box Starting Point VPN network from my local attacker machine and then spawn the target instance. Let's refresh the page here. I already see my IP address on Hack the Box VPN network, and now we see the connection also in the UI. As usual, I will follow along the walkthrough by focusing on hands-on part and go through these test questions towards end of the video. Let's first ping the target machine. Great, TTL is as usual for Linux instances on Hack the Box, TTL 63, and for Windows is usually 127. And let's proceed to run nmap, sudo nmap with switches scsv, then target IP. According to the screenshot, we expect to see port 8080 as open for HTTP service. And this is Jetty version. Then we'll proceed to navigate to that target IP address and port 8080. Great, everything is as seen on the screenshot. Let's save this nmap output into notes file. And let's navigate to this target IP address and port 8080. And here we, as expected, see Jenkins login panel. And we'll here proceed to manually try some of the common weak credential pairs as listed here in the walkthrough. Also similarly seen on OWASP Web Security Testing Guide, section 4, testing for default credentials. Pointing us to try the usual usernames, for example, root, and password, one of the following, for example, password. And let's proceed to do just that. Great. And we are now presented with the administrative panel. Now we would look around a bit. Also, we would check is the version of the Jenkins as displayed at the bottom right of the page. vulnerable to any known CVEs or attack methods published on the internet. So to save us time for these walkthrough purposes, we won't go down that path, but we'll focus on one of the methods mentioned in these linked resources. I'll navigate to these pages in a minute. Let's proceed going through the walkthrough. In both links provided above, the Jenkins script console is mentioned, where what is known as Groovy script can be written and run arbitrarily. To access it, you need to navigate to the left menu to Manage Jenkins, then Script Console, or by visiting the following URL directly from your browser URL search bar. HTTP target IP port 8080 as we saw in Nmap output, and then /script. Let's quickly navigate to Script Console from Manage Jenkins in the left side panel. The objective of our Groovy script implementation will be to receive a reverse shell connection from the target. Reverse in this case meaning the target will initialize the connection request back to our attacker VM, with simplicity in implementation and a better chance of firewall evasion being the main two reasons. Attackers who successfully exploit a remote command execution vulnerability can use a reverse shell to obtain an interactive shell session on the target machine and continue their attack. And in order to do that, using this Groovy script console, we will need a specially crafted payload, which we can find in the following GitHub cheat sheet. The payload from the cheat sheet is this one, and we'll proceed to copy paste it to our script console and adjust your IP part. As we saw in the Nmap output, this HTTP server is running on Linux target instance, so we'll keep this string cmd equals bin bash. If the target was using Windows, it would have been cmd.exe. So let's sift through so far provided links and then verify IP address. We should type here, though expected as seen on the upper right corner of my machine, and then proceed with the walkthrough. And in our case, we would here put our attacker IP address and adjust this string cmd to bin bash shell for Linux instance. And before we run, we will set up on our attacker machine a listener script using netcat. So let's first run nc-h to see available switches and options. And then run nc-lvnp port 8000 as seen in the script console. We are listening locally on our attacker machine on port 8000. Before I click on enter here to start listening, let's read through this section of the walkthrough. Our listener script, so this one here, will be running on the specified port and catch the connection request from the target, successfully forming a reverse shell between the target and attacker hosts. On our side, this will look like a new connection is received and that we can now type in the target host's terminal. This will not be visible on the target side unless they are actively monitoring the network activity of their running processes or the outbound connections from their ports. So first, let's ensure we are listening on attacker instance, then run the script from the Groovy script console. Great, we have a connection. We should now have command execution, and we should be able to navigate to /root directory on the target and read the flag. Let's try to do that. And from here, let's just click on enter. Okay, let's type who am I. It seems unresponsive. Let's try this once again. Let's exit from here. We have a connection. Let's immediately type who am I. I think I see what could be the problem here. Let's exit from here. So when I copy pasted the payload in the Groovy script console, I think the lines messed up. So let's adjust a bit these rows. This here should be 1 row, for example, not 2. While should be 1 word. It might be easier to copy paste the payload from the cheat sheet. Let's try with that. Let's use this reverse shell from Groovy code. And port 8000. Let's try once again. Listener is ready. Great, we have a connection. Let's try now. Who am I? And we root ID. also as seen on the screenshot. And let's navigate to root directory. Now going back to the user interface, let's go through these questions. Task 1, what does the acronym CVE stand for? That can be seen in the walkthrough. Task 2, what do the 3 letters in CIA, referring to the CIA triad in cybersecurity, stand for? That can be also seen in the walkthrough. Task 3, what is the version of the service running on port 8080? Let's check our notes. What version of Jenkins is running on the target? We saw that in the lower right corner of Jenkins dashboard. Task 5, what type of script is accepted as input on the Jenkins script console? So we saw that here. Task 6, what would the string cmd variable from the Groovy script snippet be equal to if the target VM was running Windows? And we mentioned that. So instead of bin bash, what would it be? Also seen in the walkthrough. Task 7, what is a different command than IPA we could use to display our network interfaces information on Linux? So that's a question that relies on your previous knowledge on ifconfig. Task 8, what switch should we use with netcat for it to use UDP transport mode? We can find that in the output of nc-h. Task 9, what is the term used to describe making a target host initiate a connection back to the attacker host? And we mentioned that term. Also, it's seen in the walkthrough. And after submitting a root flag, we can say we completed the box. And we can stop the target machine. Great, that would be all for this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this one. Until next video, bye for now.